Kansas is often described as a flyover state, a vast, flat expanse of amber waves of grain designed to be seen from 30,000 feet. But for those who kill the engine on a gravel backroad at midnight, the flat horizon begins to feel less like a landscape and more like a stage. There is a specific kind of off energy in rural Kansas, a sense of exposure. In the woods of the South, you fear what is hiding behind the trees. On the high plains, you fear the fact that there is nowhere to hide at all. 1. Stull, the gateway that shouldn't exist. If you speak to anyone in Douglas County about Stull, they will likely give you a warning before they give you directions. Stull is world famous among occultists, but for the people living nearby, it is a source of genuine, localized nausea. The town itself is nearly gone, but the off feeling centers on the ruins of the old stone church and the cemetery that surrounds it. The legend claims Stull is one of the 7 gateways to hell, but the atmospheric reality is more subtle and more terrifying. Visitors report a dead zone in the air where birds refuse to fly, and the wind, which screams across the surrounding fields, suddenly drops to a vacuum-like silence over the graves. There is a tall tale about the church roof, that rain would never fall inside the ruins, even though they were open to the sky. While the church was bulldozed in 2002 to deter sightseers, the weight of the location remains. Walking through Stull feels like walking through a room where a terrible argument just ended. The air is thick, expectant, and deeply unwelcoming. It isn't just a ghost town. It's a place where the geography feels thin, as if the ground might give way to something else entirely. The local authorities are famously defensive of the site, patrolling the area with a vigor that borders on the obsessive. This high-strung security only adds to the town's wrongness, making it feel as though the state itself is guarding a secret it cannot contain. It is said that even the most hardened skeptics find themselves whispering when they step onto the grounds, suppressed by a pressure in their ears that mimics the sensation of being deep underwater. The stories of the devil's child buried in the potter's field or the hidden stone steps that lead downward into an abyss serve as metaphors for the literal psychic gravity of the place. Stull doesn't need a physical gateway to be terrifying. Its horror lies in the way it seems to subtract from the world, leaving a hollow, echoing hole in the Kansas landscape. 2. Atchison, the vertical dread. Atchison is widely considered the most haunted town in Kansas, but its wrongness isn't just about ghosts. It's about the architecture. Built on high bluffs overlooking the Missouri River, Atchison is a town of grand, looming Victorian mansions that seem to stare down at you with judgmental, glass eyes. The off sensation here is a form of architectural vertigo. The streets are steep, and the houses, like the infamous Sally House, possess a stuffy energy, as if the oxygen has been replaced by Victorian lace and old secrets. In the Sally House, visitors don't just see apparitions, they experience physical distress, unexplained scratches, sudden drops in temperature, and a feeling of static on the skin. The town feels like a museum that has been left out in the rain too long. Even the beautiful parts of Atchison carry a funereal dignity. It's a place where the past isn't behind you. It's standing right behind the curtains of an upstairs window, watching you walk by. The sheer verticality of the town is an anomaly in a state known for its flatness. This creates a psychological cliff's edge effect, where every corner turn feels like a descent into another era. The gargoyles and intricate woodwork of the mansions don't offer beauty so much as they offer hiding places for something ancient and watchful. As night falls, the Missouri River below turns into a black ribbon of ink, and the wind off the water creates strange whistles through the town's many alleys. Residents often speak of pockets of time where the modern world seems to vanish entirely, leaving you stranded in a 19th century nightmare. The town is suffocatingly dense with history, a place where the weight of those who died in their finery seems to keep the very foundations from breathing. To walk Atchison at night is to be a trespasser in a city that belongs to the dead. 3. Leroy, the town of the sleeping water. Leroy sits near the Neosho River, and the vibe here is liquid. Water in Kansas is usually a blessing, but in Leroy, it feels like a lurking presence. The town is surrounded by floodplains and heavy, damp timber that feels out of place in the middle of the plains. And travelers often report the Leroy fog, a mist so dense and localized that it seems to have a physical weight. Within this fog, the sounds of the town become distorted. You might hear the sound of a heavy splashing in the river where nothing should be, or the rhythmic thudding of a machine that hasn't been operational for 50 years. The town feels submerged, even when it's dry. The architecture is sagging, and the moss grows thick on the north side of every building, giving the impression that Leroy is slowly being pulled back into the mud of the Neosho. It is a place of damp silence and the constant, unsettling smell of wet earth and ancient river rot. There is a distinct lack of prairie brightness here. Instead, the light is filtered through an aggressive canopy of trees that seem to crowd the residential streets. The ground in Leroy always feels slightly soft, as if the water table is only inches below the surface, waiting for a chance to reclaim the pavement. This creates a persistent fear of sinking, a literal and metaphorical instability. The Neosho itself moves with a sluggish, oily consistency, hiding debris and deep, swirling eddies that locals warn children to avoid. It is a town that feels like it is holding its breath, waiting for the next great flood to finally wash it away into the silt. In Leroy, the humidity isn't just weather. It's a shroud that clings to your skin, making every breath feel heavy with the taste of stagnant history and decaying timber. 4. White Cloud, the four-state lookout. Located in the extreme northeast corner of the state, White Cloud offers a view where you can see Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa all at once. But this panoramic beauty comes with a side effect, a crushing sense of isolation. The off feeling in White Cloud is the sensation of being at the edge of the world. The town is built into the lush bluffs, and the elevation changes make the layout feel erratic and nonsensical. Because you can see so far into other states, you feel strangely disconnected from the one you are standing in. The wind at the lookout point doesn't sound like wind, it sounds like distant voices. The town itself feels like a high-altitude island. The residents are polite, but possess a watchful quality. It is the kind of place where you feel like you are being monitored from miles away, and the vastness of the horizon makes you feel remarkably small and incredibly vulnerable. The town's history is inextricably tied to the Iowa tribe and the early pioneers, but the current atmosphere is one of profound stillness. The winding roads that lead up to the lookout are often choked with overgrown weeds, and the abandoned grain elevators stand like skeletal sentinels against the sky. There is a strange acoustic property to the bluffs. Sounds from the valley floor, a dog barking, a car door slamming, carry upward with an unnerving clarity, making it impossible to tell how far away anything actually is. This spatial confusion leads to a persistent, hunted feeling, as if you were standing on a pedestal for the entire Midwest to see. White Cloud isn't just remote, it is exposed. It is a place where the sky is too big and the ground is too high, leaving the visitor feeling like an ant on a glass table. 5. Elk Falls, the living ghost town. Elk Falls bills itself as a living ghost town, which is a paradox that creates an immediate sense of unease. It is a community of artists and gardeners living among the skeletons of 19th-century commerce. The wrong feeling in Elk Falls is a result of this overlap. You'll see a beautifully maintained garden path that leads directly into the side of a collapsed stone wall. It is a town of partialities, half ruined, half restored. This creates a psychological dissonance. Your brain can't decide if the town is thriving or dying. The Iron Bridge, built in 1893, is the focal point of this energy. Walking across it, you can hear the river below, but the sound is often punctuated by a metallic pinging that sounds like someone tapping on the iron with a hammer. When you look, there is no one there. Elk Falls is a town that is trying to be two things at once, and that tension creates a vibrational offness that stays with you long after you leave. The town's commitment to the ghost town aesthetic feels less like a marketing ploy and more like a coping mechanism for a place that refuses to fully pass away. The living part of the town seems to exist in a symbiotic, yet parasitic, relationship with the ruins. You might find a bright, cheerful pottery studio situated next to a house that has been completely hollowed out by termites and rot. This juxtaposition suggests that the residents are caretakers of a corpse, meticulously painting the nails of something that stopped breathing decades ago. Gravel roads like long, grasping fingers. The silence here isn't peaceful. It's a strained, forced quiet, as if the town is collectively holding its breath to avoid waking the ghosts it claims to celebrate. It is a beautiful place, certainly, but it is the beauty of a taxidermied animal, vibrant, but fundamentally wrong. 6. Treece, the toxic void. Treece is a town that was literally deleted. Once a bustling mining hub, it was declared a Superfund site due to lead and zinc contamination. Most of the residents were bought out and moved, leaving behind a landscape of chat piles, massive, mountain-like mounds of toxic gray dust. Treece feels off because it looks like a post-apocalyptic lunar colony. The gray dust coats everything, and the lack of vegetation gives the air a metallic, sterile quality. There are no birds here. There are no insects. The silence in Treece is absolute and unnatural. Standing in the middle of what used to be a residential street, you can see the foundations of homes and the occasional rusted tricycle, but the land feels poisoned in a spiritual sense as well as a chemical one. It is a cautionary tale written in gray dust, a place where the earth has been hollowed out and left to collapse into the mine shafts below. It is the most wrong-feeling location in the state because it represents the total triumph of industry over life. The danger in Treece is invisible but omnipresent. The chat piles, though they look like hills, are unstable and laden with heavy metals that seep into the groundwater. To stand in the center of the town is to feel a deep, biological rejection. Your body knows it shouldn't be there. The ground is prone to sudden sinkholes where old mine shafts give way, creating a literal sense that the earth is trying to swallow the evidence of its own desecration. It is a ghost town where the ghost is the very soil beneath your boots. The few remaining structures are twisted and bleached by the sun, looking less like buildings and more like sun-dried bones. There is no hope of a return to nature here, because nature itself has been murdered. Treece is a permanent scar on the face of Kansas, a place where the wind only serves to circulate the poison that ended it. 7. Victoria, the Cathedral of the Plains. Victoria is home to the Basilica of St. Fidelis, a massive, twin-towered stone cathedral that rises out of the flat farmland like a hallucination. The scale of the church compared to the tiny town surrounding it creates an immediate sense of spatial wrongness. The vibe in Victoria is one of religious oppression. The church is built of massive limestone blocks, and its interior is vast, cold, and echoing. Even if you aren't religious, the building exerts a weight on you. The town feels like it exists only in the shadow of this stone giant. Locals are deeply private, and the atmosphere is one of rigid, quiet piety. There is a legend about the limestone spirits, the ghosts of the men who died hauling the heavy stone from the quarries, and many visitors report the sound of heavy dragging coming from the church lofts at night. Victoria feels like a town that is holding its breath, waiting for a bell to toll that hasn't rung in a century. The architecture of the basilica is so grand that it makes the surrounding prairie feel insignificant, which is a rare feat in Kansas. This creates a sense of divine disproportion, where the individual human feels like a mere speck of dust. The limestone used to build the town has a porous, bone-like quality that seems to soak up sound, leading to a muffled, eerie quiet on the streets. Even during the day, the shadows cast by the twin spires are long and sharp, slicing through the town like sundials counting down to an unknown event. There is a feeling that the town is not governed by the laws of Kansas, but by an older, more severe code of ethics that demands absolute silence and submission. To visit Victoria is to feel as though you are being judged by the very stones of the street, and that any laughter or loud noise would be a punishable sacrilege. 8. Nicodemus, the ghost of a dream. Nicodemus was founded by African Americans coming out of the post-Civil War South, seeking a promised land in the Kansas desert. While it is a national historical site, the town today is mostly an expanse of empty lots and a few lonely, weathered buildings. The feeling in Nicodemus is a profound, echoing melancholy. It was a town built on the highest possible stakes, freedom and survival, and the fact that the harsh Kansas climate and the railroad's bypass eventually strangled it leaves a sour energy in the air. When you stand in the center of town, you don't feel abandoned as much as you feel disappointed. The wind through the prairie grass sounds like a collective sigh. It is a place where the hope was so thick that the subsequent silence feels like a physical barrier, followed when the rains didn't come. The remaining structures, like the Township Hall and the Old Baptist Church, are meticulously preserved, but they feel like empty shells of an ambition that was too large for the world to hold. There is a persistent hum here that feels like the vibration of thousands of unheard prayers. Walking the dirt roads, you get the sense that if you turned around quickly enough, you might catch a glimpse of the bustling town that almost was. It is a site of phantom history, where the energy of what was lost is far more palpable than what actually remains. It is a place that demands respect, but it pays you back in a currency of deep, unshakable sadness. 9. Garden Plain, the grid of silence. Garden Plain is a perfectly functional, tidy town near Wichita, but for outsiders, it feels too quiet. The town is laid out in a perfect, rigid grid, and the houses are maintained with a precision that feels almost military. The off factor in Garden Plain is the perfect suburb syndrome. There is no litter. There are no overgrown lawns. There is almost no visible movement. It feels like a town from The Truman Show or a 1950s civil defense film. When you drive through, you get the distinct impression that you are being watched from every window, but not a single curtain moves. The wrongness here is the lack of friction. Life is messy, but Garden Plain is sterile. This creates an uncanny valley effect for the entire community, a sense that if you peeled back the siding on any house, you'd find wires and clockwork instead of people. The silence in Garden Plain isn't the silence of the wilderness. It's the silence of a held breath. Every parked car is perfectly parallel to the curb, and every porch light seems to turn on at the exact same millisecond. This level of uniformity suggests a hidden authority or a collective pact of conformity that an outsider can never understand. You start to wonder what happens to the people who don't mow their lawns on the designated day, or what lies beneath those immaculate, green squares of turf. It feels like a place where secrets are buried under layers of fresh paint and suburban etiquette. Driving through, you feel a desperate urge to honk your horn or create some kind of chaos just to see if anyone will react. But you don't. You just keep driving, feeling the weight of 1,000 unseen eyes tracking your progress until you cross the city limits and the messiness of the real world returns. 10. Liberal, the Yellow Brick Road Trap. Liberal, Kansas, is the official home of Dorothy Gale from The Wizard of Oz. They have a Land of Oz museum and a yellow brick road, but the kitsch hides a very real, very dry unease. Liberal is in the heart of the Dust Bowl territory, and the landscape is punishingly flat and arid. The off feeling in Liberal is the intersection of childhood fantasy and harsh reality. Seeing a fiberglass statue of Toto while a dust storm begins to kick up in the distance creates a surreal, nightmarish atmosphere. The town feels like it is clinging to a fictional story to avoid looking at the brutal landscape surrounding it. The air is always gritty, and the smell of the nearby feedlots creates a heavy, organic funk that clashes with the bright colors of the Oz attractions. It is a town of masks, where the man behind the curtain isn't a wizard, but the unrelenting, thirsty spirit of the high plains. There is a psychological exhaustion in Liberal that no amount of colorful paint can hide. The Land of Oz exhibit itself is a winding, claustrophobic path that feels less like a tribute and more like a fever dream. Outside, the horizon is a flat, brown line that offers no escape and no variation. The juxtaposition of "there's no place like home" with a landscape that seems actively hostile to human life creates a bitter irony.